Good evening, everybody in the gallery and everybody who's watching at home. Welcome to the September 2020 Manitowoc County Board of Supervisors meeting. First up will be a pledge of allegiance. First up will be invocation by Supervisor Wagner, followed by the pledge of allegiance to the flag. If everybody please rise.
Lord, help us to be active participants at our county board meeting, motivated and willing to serve our county. Help us to weigh our decisions carefully and reach forward to the prosperity of our county and for the benefit of our individual districts which we represent, as well as our county as a whole, so we can all stand proud of our continued progress. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much, Supervisor Wagner. Roll call is going around. 22 members are present. Supervisors Niles, Zimmer, and Hagan are excused this evening. And before we get into the discussion of the agenda, just to remind everybody, and it looks like we're in 100% compliance, please leave your masks on. And I know it's a little difficult to social distance at 6 feet, but we'll do the best we can. Well, I guess it's a welcome back and to the county boardroom. I know maybe I picked the wrong month to do this with all our proclamations, but I felt it was time to do it, and we have 7 new supervisors that haven't been in this room yet to be a county board meeting, so this is their first night. So welcome, everybody. We'll make it through. We should be fine. All right, consideration and correction of the minutes from our August 18th, 2020 meeting. Motion by Supervisor Benke, second by Supervisor Hendrickson to approve. Discussion, and just a point as well, as Jessica pointed out to the new supervisors, we do have our voting, remote, but on votes for the minutes and appointments, we do it by voice vote. So this time you won't have to use it. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carried, and the minutes are approved. Additions or deletions to the agenda, I will turn over to County Clerk Jessica Backus.
Under Roman numeral number 7, item number 9, County Executive Bob Ziegelbauer, extension of the declaration of emergency, executive proclamation declaring public health emergency. And then under Roman numeral number 12, item O miscellaneous number 7, resolution 2020-2021-28, ratifying County Executive September 12, 2020 proclamation of continuing the public health emergency have been added to the agenda.
Thank you very much, Jessica. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as amended? Motion by Supervisor Engelbrecht, seconded by Supervisor Aulick. Discussion on the motion. Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carried, and the agenda is approved. All right, if I could have County Executive Bob Ziegelbauer come up to the podium, and we'll start off with the proclamation honoring 4-H Week. And Kevin Palmer and your group, if you want to come on up too, that'd be great. Good evening, Kevin, and good evening, members of 4-H for Manitowoc County here. We have this is on, right? Yes, okay. We have a proclamation honoring 4-H Week here in Manitowoc County. Whereas 4-H is one of the largest youth organizations in the United States, with more than 6 million youth involved in 4-H nationwide, and with 28,909 youth 4-H members and 13,971 youth and adult volunteers in Wisconsin, and 391 youth 4-H members and 136 volunteers here in Manitowoc County. And whereas 4-H is where young people explore, learn, and discover in a safe environment and find their true passions, gain confidence, and give back to their community. And whereas 4-H has been helping youth and adults learn, grow, and work together for more than 100 years and provides a community where young people learn leadership, citizenship, and life skills. And whereas Manitowoc County youth are able to learn individually and together by participating in all kinds of 4-H activities, events, and projects through Extension Manitowoc County programs. Now therefore, Manitowoc County Executive Bob Ziegelbauer, County Board Chairperson Jim Bry, and the Manitowoc County Board of Supervisors hereby declare October 4 through 10, 2020 as 4-H Week here in Manitowoc County, and urge the people of this community to become more aware of this special program and to join in recognizing the unique partnership between Manitowoc County and the Division of Extension, University of Wisconsin-Madison. Congratulations, Kevin. If you'd like to say a few words or anybody, that'd be great.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks for your support for the 4-H program. Our program is governed by a volunteer organization called the 4-H Leaders Association. We have a 9-member leaders board, and 3 of those board members are youth. I have 2 of them here tonight that just want to say a few words about their 4-H experience.
Hi, my name is Amelia Hansen, and I am a junior at Manitowoc Lutheran High School. I have been a member of Tannery Stars 4-H since I was in kindergarten, about 12 years. 4-H has been a big part of my life and has given me many opportunities that I wouldn't have had otherwise. I have had many leadership opportunities, including serving 2 years on the Manitowoc County 4-H Leaders Board. In the past few years, I have also been able to attend youth conference in Madison and participate in the American Spirit experience. On the trip, I was able to see and learn about many historical sites along the East Coast. One of the best things 4-H has introduced to me is the equine world and the joy of horses. Through the 4-H Horseless Horse program, I was able to show horses at County Fair even though I didn't have any of my own. I was taught not only how to ride and how to show, but also the amount of patience, commitment, and hard work it takes to care for and own horses. Now, 8 years later, I am still working with horses and have even bought one of my own. Without 4-H, I wouldn't have had that pathway into my love of horses. I wouldn't have been taught that same appreciation and care of animals. Most of all, I wouldn't have had that constant reminder to be patient and to work hard, even if I wasn't seeing the immediate results that I wanted. 4-H has become more than just a fun thing that I do. It has shaped my life and helped me grow as a person. 4-H has changed my life so much that I can't imagine life without it.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Clarissa Allness, and I am a junior at Valdez High School. I've had countless opportunities and made many memories in the time since I became a 4-H member at the age of 9. I am part of the Liberty Go-Getters 4-H Club, serving as this year's vice president. I am part of the Dairy Project and show my animals at local, state, and national shows. 4-H has given me the opportunity to grow as a leader and individual. I have held many officer positions and have attended a few leadership camps, all while learning more about myself and meeting new friends that I am still in touch with today. Last September at this time, the Manitowoc County 4-H Senior Dairy Judging Team competed at Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, after placing second in the state. It was our first national dairy judging contest as a team. We had a lot of fun and grew as judges and created an even closer bond as friends. That whole trip and experience was not possible without the support and donations from the county and state 4-H, and we are all forever grateful. My most memorable thing I think I have ever done in my life was going out of my comfort zone and going on a trip through 4-H. The American Spirit Trip is a week-and-a-half-long bus trip from Wisconsin to the East Coast, stopping at many states in between, learning about our country's history, as well as seeing the touristy sites in each state. The amount of breathtaking, life-changing, and once-in-a-lifetime sights and experiences I had, I will hold and cherish forever. The trip opened my eyes, showing me that going on it, making new friends, and learning about myself was all worth it in the end, because I feel that whole adventure has now helped shape me and make me who I am. My favorite part was being in New York City, and since visiting there, it has made me think about living there for a while in the future. I went on the trip with my best friend, also from my 4-H club, and we were both very grateful for the County 4-H for covering half of the cost of the trip. 4-H has shown me the diversity and its inclusiveness of everyone who wants to be part of its large family-like organization. 4-H has pushed me when I didn't know I needed it, and over the last 8 years, it has been a significant part in my development. I hope that throughout my life, I am lucky enough to share what I have learned with others and make a positive impact and eventually give back to the organization that has given so much to me. I'm honored to be here on behalf of the Manitowoc County 4-H Leaders Board as a youth representative to accept this year's 4-H proclamation in honor of National 4-H Week. Thank you.
Kevin, did you want to say anything yet, or are you good? Okay. New York City, I can understand the highlights of a big city, but just remember, your Manitowoc County is always going to be your home, so, okay. Nothing wrong with that, nothing like touring around the world, there's nothing, certainly nothing wrong with that. All right, thank you very much, enjoy. Sheriff, would you like to come up here and accept the proclamation for Crime Prevention Month? Okay, that'd be great. Next up, we have the 2020 Crime Prevention Month proclamation. Sheriff Dan Hardwig from Manitowoc County Sheriff will be here accepting it. First, whereas the vitality of Manitowoc County, Wisconsin depends on how safe we keep our homes, neighborhoods, schools, workplace, and community. And whereas crime and the fear of crime destroy our trust in others and in civic institutions, threatening Manitowoc County citizens' health, prosperity, and quality of life. And whereas people of all ages must be aware that they can do to prevent themselves and their families, neighbors, and coworkers from being harmed by crime. And whereas people of all ages must be made aware of the dangers of technology crime and how they can protect themselves from becoming victims. And whereas the personal injury, financial loss, and community deterioration resulting from crime are intolerable and require investment from the whole community. And whereas crime prevention initiatives must include self-protection and security, but they must go beyond these to promote collaborative efforts to make neighborhoods safer for all ages and to develop positive opportunities for young people. And whereas adults must invest time, resources, and policy support in effective prevention and intervention strategies for youth, and teens must be engaged in driving crime from Manitowoc County. And whereas effective crime prevention programs excel because of partnerships among law enforcement, other government agencies, civic groups, schools, faith communities, businesses, and individuals as they nurture communal responsibility and install pride. Now, therefore, we, Bob Zigbauer, County Executive, and Jim Bryant, Manitowoc County Board Chairperson, along with the Manitowoc County Board of Supervisors, hereby proclaim October 20th as Crime Prevention Month in Manitowoc County and urge all citizens, government agencies, public and private institutions, and businesses to invest in the power of prevention and to work together to make Manitowoc County a safer, stronger, more caring community. Sheriff, I'll present to you, and you're certainly welcome to say a few words.
I hope everyone's doing well. Can everybody hear me through this mask? Yeah. Okay, thumbs up. So thank you, Mr. Zigebauer and Mr. Bry, for this proclamation. One thing I wanted to point out, 2020 has been kind of an interesting year for everyone so far. And unfortunately, got to see what fall is going to bring us and what winter is going to bring us. It looks like hurricane season and wildfires out in California are starting to create the next item that we have going forward. So one thing, even with this year, with all the challenges that we've seen, both locally and on a national level, there's one thing that's always been consistent. You always hear the word essential workers. But one of those things with essential workers is our law enforcement officers working in partnership with the community. And our primary focus is our citizens and keeping people safe. So we like to have those public and partner. What we end up doing is protecting the public through enforcement of our laws and assisting victims of crime. We have and continue, and we're starting to see this a lot in our communities now, especially with the advent of new technologies, where predators are continuing to hunt and prey and victimize our children. We're starting to see new financial crimes against our elderly, and also the effects of controlled substances on our community. We'll continue to collaborate with our federal, state, and local law enforcement partners to provide the best service possible to our community. We've initiated partnerships with Immigration and Customs Enforcement, with the DEA, and those partnerships are helping to provide a good blanket of protection for our community. There's one thing that I absolutely love seeing, especially in small Manitowoc, is kids playing in a park and people walking down the street, walking their dogs without any type of fear of crime. That's one thing that we want to continue to do. This community supports law and order, supports its citizens, and supports law enforcement. We will continue to do our part to keep Manitowoc County a safe place to live, work, and raise a family. Thank you again for your time, and thank you for supporting our crime victims.
And thank you, Sheriff, and your department, and all the other law enforcement and crime prevention committees in Manitowoc County. Excellent job. You're right. We have our time, we have our moments, but like you said, I feel safe walking down the streets and going into parks and in every area. So hang in there, keep doing a great job. You guys are doing great. And speaking of which, we're going to honor 3 officers tonight, or from the Sheriff's Department. There was a fire alarm going off on August 8th, correct, if I remember correctly? Yes. And due to the prevention of these 3 officers, prevented a potential major fire here in one of our facilities. So if I could have Lieutenant Michael, is it Polish come up? Good evening, Lieutenant. Hi. All right, whereas Michael Polish began his career as a reserve deputy on October 23rd, 1989. He was promoted to corrections on July 6, 1995, and again promoted to jail sergeant on January 2nd, 1998. Michael transferred to the patrol division in 2000, followed by promotions to sergeant on February 2nd, 2007, and lieutenant on January 10th, 2011 at the Manitowoc County Sheriff's Office. And whereas on August 8th, 2020, corrections officers were on duty were made aware of a fire alarm going off in central control. The alarm stated it was for the second floor in the administration part of the Sheriff's Office. And whereas patrol officers meeting in the basement also noticed smoke in the hallway and began to investigate immediately. Lieutenant Polish met corrections officers Stanall and Sergeant Mancheski and responded to the second floor area and began to search for possible fire activity. They determined the fire was coming from the mechanical room. And whereas Lieutenant Polish unlocked the door to the mechanical room, Sergeant Mancheski, Corrections Officer Stanall, and Lieutenant Polish entered the mechanical room and worked to put out the flames several times only to see the flames restart after they left the area due to the amount of smoke. And whereas Corrections Officers donned SCBA and entered the room and continued to work to extinguish the fire until Manitowoc Fire Department arrived. And now, therefore, we, Manitowoc County Executive Bob Ziegelbauer and Manitowoc County Board Chairman Jim Bry, along with the Manitowoc County Board of Supervisors, hereby recognize Michael Polish for his quick and decisive sorry, it is hard to talk with this mask on, isn't it? Decisive action while responding to the incident, helping the damage to a minimum, keeping the damage to a minimum, and to avoid the potential for a much larger fire endangering personnel and occupants of the Manitowoc County Jail. Congratulations, Lieutenant Polish. Would you like to say a few words? Now, we can have Sergeant Mancheski come up. Good evening, Sergeant Mancheski. I'm serious. These things are really hard to talk when you're starting speaking. I apologize to everybody not here as well and at home. But whereas Robert Mancheski began his career as a corrections officer on December 17, 2009, and was promoted to sergeant on December 28, 2016 at the Manitowoc County Sheriff's Office. And whereas Robert Mancheski serves as a shift supervisor as well as coordinating training for all new hires. And whereas on August 8, 2020, Sergeant Mancheski, along with Corrections Officer Stanall, were on duty at approximately 5:55 a.m. when they were made aware of a fire alarm going off in central control. The alarm stated it was for the second floor in the administration part of the Sheriff's Office. And whereas Sergeant Mancheski and Corrections Officer Stanall responded to the area and began to search for possible fire activity and determined that the fire was coming from the mechanical room. And whereas Sergeant Mancheski, Corrections Officer Stanall, and Lieutenant Polish entered the mechanical room and worked to put out the flames several times only to see the flames restart after they left the area due to the amount of smoke. And whereas Sergeant Mancheski donned the self-contained breathing apparatus and entered the room and continued to work as extinguishing the fire until the Manitowoc Fire Department arrived. Now, therefore, we, Manitowoc County Executive Bob Ziegelbauer and County Board Chair Jim Bry, along with the Manitowoc County Board of Supervisors, hereby recognize Robert Mancheski for his quick and decisive action while responding to this incident, helping to keep damage to a minimum, and to avoid the potential for a much larger fire endangering personnel and occupants of the Manitowoc County Jail. Congratulations. Thank you very much. say a few words?
What's that?
Would you like to say a few words? Okay, that's all right, that's all right. Thank you. And not last but not least, Corrections Officer Zachary Stenell. Have I been pronouncing your name correct, I hope? It's Stenell, I'm sorry. I know, I was hoping to get out in the audience with everybody before I got to do this tonight, and I apologize with the crowd and stuff, but Stenell, thank you. Whereas Zachary Stenell began his career as Corrections Officer on April 6, 2005 at the Manitowoc County Sheriff's Office. And whereas on August 8, 2020, Corrections Officer Stenell, along with Sergeant Mancheski, were on duty at approximately 5:55 a.m. when they were made aware of a fire alarm going off in central control. The fire alarm stated was for the second floor in the administration part of the Sheriff's Office. And whereas Corrections Officer Stenell and Sergeant Mancheski responded to the area and began to search for a possible fire activity and determined the fire was coming from the mechanical room. And whereas Sergeant Mancheski, Corrections Officer Stenell, and Lieutenant Polish entered the mechanical room and worked to put out the flames several times only to see the flames restart after they left the area due to the amount of smoke. And whereas Corrections Officer Stenell donned the self-contained breathing apparatus and entered the room and continued to work at extinguishing the fire until the Manitowoc Fire Department arrived. And now therefore, we, Manitowoc County Executive Bob Ziegelbauer, Manitowoc County Board Chair Jim Bry, along with the Manitowoc County Board of Supervisors, hereby recognize Zachary Stenell for his quick and decisive action while responding to this incident, helping to keep damage to a minimum and to avoid the potential for a much larger fire endangering personnel and occupants of the Manitowoc County Jail. Congratulations. Thank you so much. And you're certainly welcome to say a few words too, Julie. Okay, we're good. It's all right. It's great that I know in a sense you're doing your duty, but you certainly did the extra effort, and I think everybody in your situation would do the same thing, but it's great. Thank you for helping us and serving Manitowoc County, once again, all three of you. All right. Now I'm going to turn over to the Eagles Club. We have a special presentation tonight. The sheriff will be part of it. We have Mike Strauss and Don Yanda, past president of the Eagles Area's 706 club, not club, but what would you say? And I'm an Eagles member. I apologize, Mike. But I'm going to turn it over to you guys, and I'll let you speak up here. I'll wipe down quickly a little bit here.
Sure.
Okay, thank you, Jim. Good evening, everyone. It feels a little bit like homecoming week for me because 18 years ago I was sitting right among you representing District 1, and it was a real privilege, and I still have fond memories of serving on the board with several faces that I still recognize. As Jim stated, my name is Mike Strauss. I'm past president and chairman of our awards banquet for the Fraternal Order Eagles, and along with me tonight is our immediate past president, Don Yanda, who will be presenting a couple of plaques. For nearly 40 years, the Manitowoc Eagles Area 706 has held our annual Spring Awards Banquet, where we honor members of the Manitowoc Police and Fire Departments, along with 2 members of the County Sheriff's Department, as well as our Area Scholarship recipients. It is the highlight of our Eagle year, and we are always looking forward to it. We have a long history supporting our public safety departments. We have several programs within our organization, those who serve in our Eagles Memorial Foundation that pays college scholarships and health care costs for members who've lost their lives in the scope of their employment. So we're very proud to have these benefits available to our members. Unfortunately, due to the COVID virus concerns, we had to postpone this year's banquet. After discussing options on how to proceed with a possible early autumn banquet, it was felt that this was the safest and most appropriate option to make the presentations and give the well-deserved recognition to the honorees. We are very proud to be here this evening. The award winners are chosen by their respective departments and are nominated for many reasons: act of heroism, longevity, performance above and beyond the call of duty and the service to their community, or any activity that made their community a safer and better place to reside. At this time, I would invite Sheriff Hartwig to step forward and present his two recipients for this year.
All right. Chris and Tim, you guys want to come forward? And one of the officers receiving it is one of our canine officers, so he's got his furry partner with him. It's Leon. So as Micah was saying, obviously with all the COVID restrictions this year, we normally celebrate with the Eagles in early May, and we've had to postpone it a couple times. And Micah contacted me and thought about, what about the county board? And I'm like, you know what, that's a wonderful idea. He contacted Jim about it, and it's a good opportunity for you to see some of our employees. And one of my favorite sayings is always, mission first, people always. And people is where our strength is. And if you kind of look at the back of the room here, you see a lot of brown uniforms back here because our staff, our family, is here supporting them as well. So we're very fortunate to have very good people at the Sheriff's Office. Both Chris Haymauer and Corrections Officer Tim Klinker are the epitome of those good people. Our staff selects our Officer of the Year. It goes by many different criteria, but I believe the greatest is that of making a difference in our community and helping change lives. And that's absolutely what these two individuals do. I have no problem standing shoulder to shoulder next to both of these guys. But one other thing is their families, because especially being in a law enforcement executive position, you always have to remember people's families. So to Chris's and Tim's families, thank you for sharing them with us. We greatly appreciate it. I would be nowhere where I am today without their help as well. So thank you. But starting with Chris, he started at the Sheriff's Office in February of 2012 full-time. He's a drug recognition expert. He's one of only a few that we have in the county. It's a very, very high honor. He's also a field sobriety instructor, an emergency vehicle operations instructor, a vehicle contacts instructor. And in 2016, he's got his current assignment, which is our canine officer with his furry friend, Leon. And he's been doing a wonderful job at that. But one of the biggest things that I think what kind of turned the dial for Chris this past year is how big his heart is. There's a little girl down in Heartland. Her name is Emma Mertens. She's an 8-year-old girl who was diagnosed with DIPG, or DIPG. It's a rare type of brain tumor in early 2019. This little girl had an affinity towards dogs, especially police dogs. Well, at that time, the Wisconsin Canine Handlers Association got the idea to go visit this girl. And Leon had surgery at that time, so he was kind of caught up himself. So we had a little stuffed animal of Leon that he ended up giving to this little 8-year-old girl. And apparently it was a hit with her. Her parents loved it. She took it everywhere she went. But unfortunately, at the end of last year, she ended up passing from her horrible disease. Well, her parents ended up starting a foundation called Emma Loves Dogs. And because of that connection that Chris had with that young girl, we were the first recipient of that foundation, which was a $5,000 donation to our canine program. It's absolutely amazing. So definitely touching and changing lives. Tim Klinker, he started at the Sheriff's Office in 3 years. And in 3 years, I don't know of any other corrections officer who has been involved in more critical situations or has been involved in situations that is putting his skills to the test. So he is already one of our CPR instructors, and that has come in handy for him several times in our jail. He's a field training officer already at a young age, and he's one of our pepperball instructors and armors. So he's already getting himself in some good positions. But Tim has shown quick thinking and reactions on several different occasions, and even just recently this past year, he was helping out with CPR and had to give out some Narcan doses to an inmate who went unconscious in the jail. That we were able to end up revive that individual, and he ended up receiving a life-saving award from Advanced Correctional Healthcare, which is our healthcare provider in the jail. But not only does he spend his time with us at the Sheriff's Office, he's also a lieutenant with the Branch Fire Department, also volunteering his time with them. So, like I said, mission first, people always. We've got some great people in Manitowoc County, especially at the Sheriff's Office, and I couldn't be prouder of these two individuals, and I thought it'd be a very, very fitting to have them receive their awards in front of you folks.
I'm good right where I'm at.
All right.
On behalf of Fraternal Order Eagle, Law Enforcement Award, I get emotional when I do this stuff. I mean that, man. Award presented to Deputy Christopher Haymauer. their dedication and service to our community and service and law enforcement and crime prevention dated September 15, 2020. On behalf of the Fraternal Order of Eagles, Law Enforcement Award, presented to Correctional Officer Timothy Clinker for your dedicated service to our community in the field of law enforcement and crime prevention, dated this date, September 15, 2020.
One thing I do have to, I'm not going to apologize for it, but we have a lot of guys that go running into a house that is burning or somebody with a firearm, but you put a microphone in front of them and they will run away. So, so congratulations, everybody. And I think all I got left on the agenda, Dave's got a couple items from the Public Safety Committee, but thank you for giving us your time tonight. We really appreciate it.
And on behalf of the Manitowoc Eagles, Area 706, it's been a pleasure being here tonight, and we appreciated the opportunity to do this. And hopefully, we look forward to some normalcy next spring, and we can return to having our banquet at our area home. But it's been a privilege being here tonight, and I thank you very much. So, good night.
Thank you. You're definitely always welcome, and especially former Supervisor Strauss, and I think you were actually in this room at that time too. Exactly. So it's been a while. So great. Thank you guys again. Everybody stay safe. Bob, I should be quick if you want to stay up here for. If you want to stay up here for my, you can go next. It'll be quick. I mean, you want to Tom? Okay. I'm sorry. It'll be quick. It'll be quick. All right. Next on the agenda is the discussion and presentations, the items for the 2021 County Board budget. And I don't know if did they receive copies of this? I'll be honest, I don't think they did receive. Okay. Well, there isn't many changes. Essentially, the only changes that will be happening will be in regard to the data processing. There'll be a little increase there because of the upkeep of the voting equipment here and the utensils there. And also the Wisconsin Counties Utility Tax Association increased their fees or dues for next year by approximately $1,500. So we're budgeting that. So we're looking at $150,690 for submitted requested budget to the county executive. Otherwise, none of the other line items has changed. I do have a couple ideas for other ideas regarding the county budget. We'll be bringing it up at finance time when Supervisor Hanson has the finance committee hearings, I guess, on the budget. But that's about it right now. No big surprises this year as of right now. Any questions? All right, I'll turn it over to Bob. He's going to talk about the proclamation regarding the emergency order extension.
This proclamation is routine. It's a 60-day extension. We already had a emergency declaration in March, and we extended it in May, and now it's extended. I think we did it 2 times, and this is a third extension for 60 days, and we have the power to declare an emergency, but the county board has a role in that, and it's ratifying that declaration. The whole purpose is to plug in to the state and federal government for aid to fight the COVID epidemic. So we spend money, but the federal government and the state government reimburses mostly all the money, not quite, but mostly, and we depend on them. So I would appreciate it if you would ratify the emergency declaration tonight. Thanks.
Thank you, Bob. Does anybody have any questions of Bob quick before, like I said, the resolution will be the last item agenda tonight, but, all right.
And I'll see you next time for the budget. Thanks.
Yes. Thank you very much, Bob. All right, next up is public comments. If there's anybody from the public wishing to speak to any matter germane to Manitowoc County government, please raise your hand and you can come to the podium and be speak for approximately 3 minutes. Just give your name and address, and we'll start with Mr. Sikowitz in the front row.
Thank you, Chairman Bry. Eric Sitkowitz, 4559 East Whitetail Court here in Manitowoc. Last month I came before the public board to express my concern over the county supervisor using private email for official correspondence. I think I may have struck a nerve with Supervisor Zimmer because he emailed me the following Sunday evening, and I just want to share that email with you this evening. The subject line of that email is your recent public input to the county board, from Don Zimmer. Didn't you used to be a Republican and thus a believer in free speech? Signed, Don Zimmer, County Supervisor, County Supervisory District 10. To be frank, I don't have a problem with the content of the email. This isn't a free speech, this isn't a partisan issue to me. This is an accountability and open government issue. That email came from donwzimmer@gmail.com. Going back to when all of you are elected and get signed up for your county systems for your email, you're presented with a county email account opt-in sheet. All supervisors must complete this sheet. At the bottom is a note that says county board rules stipulate that all email communications related to your position as a county board supervisor must be conducted through county provided email address. If you choose not to have a county email provided address, you may not conduct county business on another email account. So Mr. Zimmer referenced the last meeting, the public input, signed it county board supervisor. Seems to be county business to me. The real issue is if somebody filed an open records request, if I file an open records request with your corporation counsel and asked for an email from Sunday, August 23rd, from Don Zimmer with any keyword, Eric, Sitkowitz, county board, input, you couldn't produce this email. If the Herald Times in the back wanted this email, your corporation counsel could not produce this email, and that's wrong. I believe in accountability and open government. You're a body that can self-police yourself, and I sure hope you do. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Eric. Is there anybody else wishing to speak? Yes.
My name is Amanda Worley, 6200 Silver Hills Drive in Manitowoc. This evening, I represent Lakeshore's United Visionaries. A few of us were in attendance at the ethics hearing yesterday afternoon. We applaud the manner in which the meeting was conducted. However, we find it troubling that there are still so many holes in this board's code of ethics. We would like to respectfully remind this body of the code we referenced in public input at the meeting held on August 13th, and again referenced in yesterday's meeting was Section 30.09, Article 3, quote, "A public official may not use or make reference to his or her position or connection with such membership while engaged in such activities without the express consent of the county board in relation to that official's involvement in organizations that use the word Manitowoc or Manitowoc County in the name," end quote. We emphatically reiterate this was referenced by an outside body in public input for those who may not remember such a thing being referenced. While we are unsure of the happenings within the Ethics Board and the creation of their codes, we believe that if anything must come out of this situation, it is a review of these holes in the codes and lack of diversity represented in them. We would like to again, as an organization, challenge this body to update their code of ethics to include provisions against discrimination, hate speech based on race or ethnicity, sexuality, or religious affiliation. While no one person can truly represent a whole community's ideals, Marginalized groups deserve to be respected by those who represent them in official capacities. We will continue to hold our public officials to high standards in conduct despite personal party lines and affiliations. We support Chairperson Bry's decision to hold the August 13th meeting and thank him for upholding a standard of accountability within our county representatives. We know if the shoe was on any foot, the same standard would be present. We cannot allow us to come to a place where upholding high standards becomes a punishment or a retaliation. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Amanda. Excuse me. Is there anybody else wishing to speak this evening? Anyone else wishing to speak this evening? Yes, ma'am.
This may be more of a question.
Could you give your name and address, please?
Oh, Kayla Rocky, 17024 Cemetery Road in Kiel. This may be more of a question or food for thought, but I am interested in knowing exactly where the money is going to be used for the federal extension of the emergency declaration for COVID, when there has been 2 deaths since this started and 730 positive cases. In my opinion, that's not an emergency declaration.
Thank you for, I guess, your question, Kayla. I guess if you would email myself or the county executive, we can certainly get that information to you, what has been spent to this date. Just thank you. Anybody else wishing to speak this evening? Anyone else wishing to speak? And for a third and final time, anybody else wishing to speak? Seeing none, I'll declare public comment closed and we'll move on with our agenda. There is no unfinished business from our last meeting, so we'll go right on to appointments by the county executive. First up is for the Land Information Council to appoint 1 member to succeed Jill Pope for a 2-year term expiring in September of 2022. And the recommendation is for Jill Pope as the realtor position on there. The motion by Supervisor Benke, second by Supervisor Aulick to approve the nomination. Appointment. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. And to appoint 1 member to fill a vacancy for a 2-year term expiring in September of 2022. And the recommendation is for Supervisor James Falkowski, a public representative. So motion by Supervisor Williams, second by Supervisor Ballman. Discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion say aye. Opposed, motion carried, and that appointment is approved. Now to appoint 2 members to succeed Matt Randerson and Anthony Lula for terms which end and employment with Manitowoc County terminates. And the recommendations are for Matt Randerson, the GIS representative, and Jason Bowles, county surveyor. Motion by Supervisor Falkowski, seconded by Supervisor Menk to approve those nominations. Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion say aye. Opposed, motion carried, and those are approved as well. Last but not least, for Bay Lakes Regional Planning Commission, to appoint 1 member to succeed Jim Falkowski for a 6-year term expiring in October of 2026. And the recommendation is for Supervisor Jim Falkowski. Motion by Supervisor Hendrickson, second by Supervisor Aulick to approve the nomination. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carried, and all the nominations or appointments are approved. Thank you very much. We will jump right in with committee reports. First up will be Aging and Disability Resource Center Board. Supervisor Wagner is the chair.
Thank you, Chairman Bryan. The ADRC's next meeting will be September 29th, 2020. The meeting will be virtual again. Information and documents will be mailed out to committee members, and we will be reviewing of the budget, and updates from the state are some of the items on the agenda. And as a note, Medicare open enrollment will start October 15th, going through December 7th, 2020. That's the end of my report.
Any questions for Supervisor Wagner? Thank you very much. Board of Health, Supervisor Metzger is the chair.
Full report, and we will be meeting October 8th at 5 o'clock for our next meeting. Thank you.
Any questions for Supervisor Metzger? Thank you very much. Criminal Justice Coordinating Council, Supervisor Falkowski is one of our representatives there, and he'll be giving a report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good evening. The meeting of the Manitowoc County Criminal Justice Coordinating Council was September 2nd via Zoom. There was an abbreviated agenda and an announcement that the public comment for this meeting was going to be deferred. Regarding the CJCC's activities, an adaptive protocol is being revived for these meetings to permit public input only during the designated comment time period. An item was pulled from the agenda as the subject matter was beyond the scope of the council's mission. Jason Lefta gave a 3-year PowerPoint report, which I've had distributed, I think, to all the county board members via email. There were some questions regarding the employment designations and also the cost basis for comparative values for the program's fiscal relationship. If interested, you can request from me more metrics. I've used some of these items to review and compare program results from the National Institute of Justice Crime Solutions. They are a Department of Justice clearinghouse of programs, practice, and process for identifying and rating these programs and practices. The Executive Committee expressed their interest in addressing the drug court's budgeting. County Executive Ziegelbauer commented that the funding for 2022 is too early for the county budget commitment. The county won't leave the participants without resources between budget cycles. Executive Ziegelbauer was one of the original supporters of the program and recognizes the popularity and successes of the program. The court should continue to admit participants and perform its function. Judge Rohr thanked the county executive for that reassurance. Other discussions started about working on a second treatment court that would be taken up by the executive committee. The next meeting date for the CJCC is November 4th, and that will be either in person or in Zoom, or with Zoom. Thank you. That's my report.
Any questions for Supervisor Falkowski? Thank you very much. Next up, Executive Committee. I don't really have anything except I guess I'll give our dates for our October meetings, barring any changes. October 13th will be, remember, there's two county board meetings scheduled in October. The first one will be Tuesday, October 13th, 6:30 p.m. in here. One of the highlights that night will be that County Executive Ziegelbauer will be presenting his 2021 proposed budget, county budget. And then we will be meeting with our annual meeting on October 26th, which is a Monday at 6:30 p.m. in here. And the budget hearing will be that night, and I'm sure the Finance Committee under Supervisor Hanson might give a report as well on what they've been discussing and talking about. So that's what I have right now. I do, as an executive committee, do want to look at some of our ethics code, though. I'll be honest with you, and now that I've had a chance to see how some of it's worked, and I've talked with Corp Counsel Peter Conrad, who couldn't be here tonight, but we have some discussions, and hopefully the COVID virus will remain calm, I guess, in a sense, and we can still meet, at least in small groups. And I think it's working out fine tonight. Everybody just keep the mask on, and if things get worse, we'll look at the policy change again. That's all I have. Any questions? All right, thank you very much. Expo Ice Center Board, Supervisor Kavanaugh is one of our representatives there.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Expo Ice Center Board met September 9th. All the improvements Jerry Neiser had listed that were to be done on the grounds were completed for 2020. Also, we got a printout that showed that because of all the events that have been canceled, it'll be about a $50,000 loss. There was a discussion on social media and the use of this to try to do a little better job of advertising for the future fairs. Noted also that contracts, all of them for 2020 have been moved to 2021, like the demo derby, the tractor pull, horse pull, and so on. Judges that we were going to have for 2020, almost all of them have agreed to do it for 2021. Noted there's 4 openings on the board, so we're looking for additional people on the board. And our next meeting will be Wednesday, October 14th. That concludes my report.
Any questions for Supervisor Kavanaugh? Thank you very much. Finance Committee, Supervisor Hanson is the chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We met last night and had a couple interesting issues. First of all, Jerry Neuser brought in some property that the county owns that are not really buildable lots. They're little pieces of property that has come to us through not paying taxes on it. But these are very small lots that we can't really sell. So there is a monetary value to them, and over the years, nobody has wanted them. There's really not a lot you can do with it. So what the committee decided to do is offer the property to landowners that might be near it, next to it. So it could become part of somebody's yard or somebody's personal property at a very, very, very low price, like $1. And what that does is it stops us from having to spend money to go cut the grass and shovel the sidewalks all winter. It gives that property owner, and it could be split between two houses, it gives them the opportunity to have a bigger yard, or possibly they might put an addition on if it works. So we are going to contact those people in those places. There were 3 of those small little properties, and try to get rid of them, because right now we take care of them, and it might do good for somebody right next to it to own that property. So we passed that last night, and we'll contact those people. Is there any questions on that issue? Second, we had a presentation last night from an investment company, PMA. It would give the county and the treasurer's office another option to make investment with county money to try to get a little more money back. Right now, there's a market out there, and if you want something that's secure and safe, you're not going to make a whole lot on it. Rates are kind of low that way. So this is a company that's worked with a lot of other public agencies, counties, cities, school districts, and they have a good track record in the state of Wisconsin. So we are thinking about that. We will bring something back next month to the board. It had a positive review from the treasurer and from the county executive, so it looked like a good thing to give us another option for county investments. So look for that coming up in October. Had a good discussion on the revolving loan fund projects. There are a lot of projects using that county loan money. It's about $1.2 million roughly in there. A lot of the projects are fixing ADA requirements throughout the county. We have to remember that ADA law was passed 30 years ago. 30 years ago. 3 decades. And now we have an opportunity, we have some money to make it easier for people with physical disabilities to use restrooms throughout the county. So we're looking at that. There will be some other proposals for that money. But I want you to think of that 30 years ago that law was passed. So I'm looking for a plan that will make sure that everything else in the county is taken care of. If we can't do it, at least 5 years get this done. It's not just people with disabilities that need to get in and use restaurants. It's going to be many of us sitting around right here, right now, in a couple of years to make it easier for us to get in and out of places. So that's something we have to take care of. There's some money that may do that, but sometimes we maybe need to jump on things a little sooner. With that, I would ask if you have any budget concerns or things that you would like to see in the budget to let us know. One of the things I appreciate about Supervisor Benke is he always talked about during budget time, let's not do it the night of the budget meeting. Let's get it done ahead of time so we can look at things and find money and do things. So if there's something you think should be in that budget or something important to you, let us know, let one of the committee members know, and we will, of course, include that in our discussions. And that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Supervisor Hanson. Questions? We'll start with Supervisor Giroux.
Supervisor Hanson, were you looking at Supervisor Williams when you were talking about that?
I am looking at everybody in this room.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Supervisor Giroux. Any other questions for Supervisor Hanson? Thank you very much. Highway Committee, Supervisor Benke is the chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have no report. We did not meet in September. We are planning on probably the night of the next county board meeting, maybe before. So look for that coming in October. Thank you.
Any questions for Supervisor Benke? Thank you very much. Human Services Board, Supervisor Hendrickson is the chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good evening. We met on August 27th at 4 o'clock to do our budget a public hearing on our budget. There were 3 people that commented or wished to speak. One was Mrs. Wallace, member of the League of Women Voters. She came to talk about drug court. Another lady was Kathy Protzman, whose topic was crisis intervention training, and she was with the NAMI group. And Nancy Slattery thanked the drug court team for all that they had done, and said, you know, some people don't succeed, but what we need them to do is to keep trying to get these people off of drugs. Our public hearing closed at 4:15. Our regular order, we took a 10-minute break, was at 4:25. What happened was then we had, our education topic was on Comprehensive Community Services Program Update. CCS currently has a waiting list. We will be requesting 2 more staff in 2021 budget to address the wait list for children. There are currently 25 children on the wait list. There are no adults on the wait list. We will probably need 3 workers if the list grows, and they can share duties. On our financial and statistical reports through July, since the board didn't meet in June, we had statistics for both. Currently, we have a deficit of $39,000. We had an annual report on drug court activities. We have an authorization to enter a lease agreement for Youth Wellness Center, which came out of Patricia Dodge. Our next meeting will be the next meeting will be Thursday, September 21st at 4:45. The meeting again will be held in the H3 building. I also have a resolution authorizing the Clark Bridge Hall building lease. I so move, Mr. Chairman.
So motion by Supervisor Hendrickson, seconded by Supervisor Marish. Discussion on the resolution. Just for informational purposes, this one we'll be using our remotes now to start voting on, so to the new supervisors. Any other discussion? Seeing none, the clerk will now conduct the vote.
Supervisors will now vote on the resolution authorizing Clark Bridge Hall building lease.
Supervisor Shimalonis, can you try voting again? There we go. The resolution passed 22-0.
That concludes my report, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Any questions for Supervisor Hendrickson? Thank you very much. Land Conservation Committee, UW Extension Education and Agricultural Committee. Supervisor Wagner is the chair.
Thank you, Chairman Bry. The next meeting for the Land Conservation Committee will be this Thursday, September 17th at 4:45 at the County Office Complex. The UW Extension Education Agricultural Committee, the Department and Area Director Rob Burke is retiring. Introduction of Judy Knutson, an interim Area Extension Director for Door, Kiwani, and Manitowoc was made. Our next meeting will be October 15th at the County Office Complex at 4:45 p.m. Thank you, Chairman Bry.
Any questions for Supervisor Wagner? Thank you very much. Personnel Committee, Supervisor Marish is the chair.
Thank you. Our committee met September 1st, and we bring forth 3 resolutions. First resolution, amending Employee Policy Manual, Section 8.05 and 8.07. I so move.
So motion by Supervisor Marish, seconded by Supervisor Ballman. Discussion on the motion. Seeing none, the clerk will now conduct the vote.
Supervisors will now vote on the resolution amending Employee Policy Manual Sections 8.05 and 8.07 Performance Standards.
Oh,
There you go. Leading by example, Supervisor Myers.
I know.
That's all right.
It must be the mask. I couldn't see my. Blame the mask.
The resolution passed 22-0. Please continue.
Okay, thank you. I bring forth resolution creating Employee Policy Manual, Section 9. I so move.
So motion by Supervisor Morris, second by Supervisor Engelbrecht. Discussion on the motion? Seeing none, the clerk will now conduct the vote.
Supervisors will now vote on the resolution creating Employee Policy Manual, Section 9, Work from Home.
There we go. So resolution passes 22-0.
Okay, and my last resolution, amending Employee Policy Manual, Section 23. I so move.
So motion by Supervisor Mars, second by Supervisor Falkowski. Discussion on the motion? Supervisor Benke.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to make an amendment to this resolution on line number 134. You have this, you were distributed this prior to the meeting. On line number 134, I'd like to, after director, put comma or his or her designee. I so move, Mr. Chair.
So motion by Supervisor Benke, seconded by Supervisor Ballman. Discussion on the amendment.
So the reason I'm putting this in here is we are starting a social media committee on the Expo group. I think it's a little bit, gives Jerry a little bit of flexibility during the fair week. Most of the social media that we will prepare as a group will be prepared before the fair, way before the fair. It'll all be done way before the fair, but you know how if you ever go to the fair, Supervisor Engelbrecht is nodding his head and understands there's a lot of different things that happen that week. And to give Jerry a little bit of flexibility in that, or any department director, Human Services, Patricia Dodge may be out of town, Patricia, going on vacation, who knows, something can get approved by a designee. So it just gives a little bit more flexibility.
Thank you for the explanation, Supervisor Benke. Any discussion on the amendment alone? Okay, seeing none, we're going to vote just on the amendment. So the clerk will now conduct a vote on the amendment. You can go ahead and vote. So it's all set to go. Supervisor Williams. All right. The amendment passed 22-0, so now it becomes part of the main motion, the main resolution. Any other discussion on the resolution as amended? Seeing none, the clerk will now conduct the vote.
Supervisors will now vote on the resolution amending Employee Policy Manual, Section 23, Computer Resources as amended.
Resolution passed as amended, 22-0. Thank you very much. Continue on, Supervisor Marsh, if you have anything else.
Just our next meeting will be October 6th. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Supervisor Marsh? Thank you again. Planning and Park Commission, Supervisor Dyzek is the chair.
Mr. Chairman, there's no report. Our next meeting is on September 28th at the county office complex. I think that's it.
Any questions for Supervisor Dyzek? Thank you very much. Public Safety Committee, Supervisor Nichols is the chair.
Thank you. The Public Safety Committee met on September 9th. Travis Walk, the Emergency Services Director, gave us a report. COVID obviously is the primary focus at this time. They're preparing for a vaccine delivery. They're hoping to receive that sometime in November. And they're putting together methods of dispensing the vaccine to residents in our county. Some other issues that they have in the department, there's some pager interference with the volunteer fire departments. There's not much we can do about that. It has to, believe it or not, it has to do with a tower placement in Michigan. So one of us would have to modify our towers, which I don't think either of us is going to be willing to do. So they'll continue to have that problem. There is a way for the individuals who have the pagers to correct that, but that's entirely up to those individuals, so we'll see how that goes. Kayla Breckenridge started in February, and you've been getting reports from her in your emails on what's going on with COVID, so she apparently is doing a great job with that. Let's see here. He gave us some other information. I guess you all have that in your, you received the minutes, so I won't go through all of that. Then Sheriff Hartwig reported. One of the things he reported on is Tom Bilke retired after 35 years, so he has to be replaced, obviously, and his experience. His staffing had been, he had assumed that they would be right up to date with the staffing, and then somebody gave him a late retirement, so they're going to fill that as well. But obviously, too, with the Sheriff's Department, COVID has an effect on what they can do. There's going to be some changes to the visitation consultation area. They have some funds that they have received over the years that they've been able to accumulate that they're going to use towards that, so that won't be a budget issue, which is a pretty good thing for us. The lobby area now has a portable fingerprint area and DNA as well. Hopefully none of us have to go in there to use that. He gave us an update on what he's going to be looking for his budget for 2021, and that'll come back to us, of course, when the budget is presented. They got their new dryers. They needed those. Those had been around for a long time. That'll be very helpful for them. And the 12-hour shift changes has resulted in a lot of savings for them. So the overtime is down for the department. Of course, they don't know what the revenues will have, over the year as a result of the changes that have occurred since March. They ordered the squad cars. That's done through the state procurement process now. And let's see here. Other than that, I have a couple of resolutions that we approved at our meeting. And the first one would be a donation from the Anthill Mob to go towards the K-9 unit. We had a representative of the K-9 unit here tonight. They need to eat, need other equipment, and their Anthill Mob is going to donate $13,000 to help defer those expenses. And I so move.
So motion by Supervisor Nichols, second by Supervisor Hendrickson. Discussion on the motion. Just a big thank you to the Anthill Mob once again for all the work you've done over the years, contributing not just to the sheriff's firm, but other local causes. It's great, and I'm sure the sheriff and past sheriffs have definitely appreciated it. So, any other discussion? Seeing none, the clerk will now conduct the vote.
Supervisors will now vote on the resolution accepting donation for the Manitowoc County Sheriff's Office K-9 unit and Hill Mob.
Resolution passes 22-0.
And then I have one more resolution, and this one is accepting a law enforcement enhance facilitate drug task force traffic investigations grant. And this would come from the Wisconsin Department of Justice, and it's in the amount of $50,000, and I so move.
So motion by Supervisor Nichols, second by Supervisor Sikowitz. Discussion on the motion? Seeing none, the clerk will now conduct the vote.
Supervisors will now vote on the resolution accepting the Law Enforcement Enhancements Facilitate Drug Task Force Trafficking Investigations Grant.
Resolution passes 22-0.
And our next meeting will take place prior to the county board meeting on October 13th, and that's all that I have.
Any questions for Supervisor Nichols? Supervisor Williams?
I don't have a statement. Since about a quarter of us on this committee are veterans, I find it very difficult for my own, speaking for myself, to sit by and listen to a strong-willed patriot that spent 28 years in the Army, a leader of men, being chastised for some email discrepancy. When I believe the city council, as a former member, probably should look at its own house first.
Supervisor Williams, I'm not against free speech, obviously, but this is not the appropriate time to be saying
I was
this.
just making a statement. That's what I'm,
Right.
American.
As
That's what I
chair, I
fought for.
can really get out of order too, so, thank you. Any other questions for Supervisor Nichols? Thank you very much. Public Works Committee, Supervisor Giroux is the chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Public Works Committee met September 9th.
Wow.
We discussed and reviewed the Solid Waste and Recycling Division, and we would like you to know that the clean sweep dates are October 22nd and 23rd. If you have any materials that you'd like to get rid of safely. We reviewed and discussed the Building and Grounds Division, approved a pay request to show some mechanical for 4 rooftop units. We discussed and reviewed the Communications Division, the interference problem that Supervisor Nichols mentioned earlier. We discussed and reviewed the Expo Fair Ice Center Division. They are going to have a ice skating program and hockey program out there this winter, so kudos to them for figuring out how to do that. And that concludes my report, Mr. Chair.
Any questions for Supervisor Giroux? Thank you very much. Transportation Coordinating Committee, Supervisor Baumann is the chair. Any questions? Thank you very much. Last but not least, I have under miscellaneous, I have the resolution 2020-21-21, 28, ratifying County Executive September 12, 2020 proclamation of continuing public health emergency. Motion by Supervisor Benke, second by Supervisor Aulick. Discussion on the resolution? Seeing none, the clerk will now conduct the vote.
Supervisors will now vote on the resolution ratifying County Executive September 12, 2020 proclamation of the continuing public health emergency.
Resolution passes 22-0. All right. Thank you very much, everybody. I think for the most part, it went very well tonight. I'll just, as for next month, for next 2 meetings, we'll just keep an eye on what's going on in the COVID pandemic area, and we'll just go from there. Just remember, just those 2 dates, October 13th, Tuesday, is our next county board meeting where County Executive Ziegelbauer will be presenting his proposed 2021 budget. And then our annual meeting, which will be Monday, October 26th at 6:30 PM, will be here. Wait a minute, what are we doing here, Supervisor Mink? It's wait till the meeting's over here. Excuse me, I'm still talking, and we have people that are still discussing. Supervisor Giroux, you had your hand up? Yes, I'll talk, I'll go to you first.
Let you know that you were scheduling that second meeting on my wedding anniversary, so I'll be bringing my wife.
Chris is always welcome, and we'll make sure we have a present, so. Thank you, and any other questions, comments? So we all know the schedule. All right, a motion to adjourn will be in order. Motion by Supervisor Olick, second by Supervisor Sikowitz. All in favor say aye. Opposed? We are adjourned.